Hello, we are the Voices of Experience. Four pals from Toronto, Canada, all of us with quite a few miles traveled already down life's highway. While that may not translate directly into voices of wisdom, we can promise you an entertaining half hour of discussion on a wide variety of topics of current interest. So sojourn with us for a while. You'll hear a variety of points of view. You'll be amused, you'll be provoked, you'll be stimulated.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for this introduction, and welcome everyone. I'm here with my friends, Mario Karakides, Andrew Wood, and Sarabjit Sandhu. Today's topic is going to be cannabis. For those of you who aren't Canadian, we legalized cannabis 2 years ago. Now, what is cannabis? Well, you might know it as marijuana or Mary Jane. A common term used for it is pot. My favorite, which really goes back and shows my age, is grass. But it's come under a variety of other names, some which are impronounceable. Cannabis has been around for probably as long as there's been human civilizations. But in about the middle part or early part of the 20th century, it was made illegal in the United States, and the rest of the world followed. Only recently, over the last decade, have these rules been loosened up. And part of the reason for this has been the ubiquitous benefits of this plant and the simple fact that it's been almost impossible to enforce the prohibition. A lot of people have spent a lot of time in jail just for having a simple marijuana cigarette, and that's not fair. We have today a number of points that we want to ask, questions to ask about this substance. And we're going to start out by the history of its use, going back thousands of years. Our resident expert on this is Sarab. Sarab, tell us about the history of cannabis as you know it.
Yes, Al, and welcome all listeners. The fact is, the first known actual stash of cannabis was found in 2600 BC in China. What do you believe? And before that, there is a whole Veda written on Soma, which is nothing else but cannabis. And there's a 5,000-year-old treatise. They are telling you how to make it. The reason was because this is very good for health. They knew it then. And now the Canadian government has realized it also, as Al said, also it's become more legal. It is, it's become legal here, and we are going to take the benefits of health here. And you would be surprised to know that even the Jews used to use it in their temples. They used to call it cannabosin. In fact, there is the biblical text which when the host asks everybody, you have come to see me, and where's my canna? He's asking them. So this is written in the biblical records. And having said that, it is beneficial, and how it is beneficial, and this Rockefeller guy, who was the father of modern medicine in states, which made it illegal, he said it because he wanted to have a medicine for each disease. So this is a cure-all. Actually, cannabis can cure most of everything, because my research and my actual use, I found that it is a very good anti-inflammatory. The CBD in the cannabis is a very excellent CBD, is a anti-inflammatory, and most of the disease are because of inflammation inside. Inflammation of the heart, inflammation of the pipes, you know, which carry the blood, inflammation of the ducts, everything. When the inflammation comes down, more fluids go, and intercell communication is better, and it relates to good health. So having said that, this has been there, and we are just rediscovering it, and the way to consume is always different. We are equating this as if it's going to give us a kick and it's going to make us crazy. But I must tell you, if you have two drinks, you don't have a problem having drinks, alcoholic drinks. It is equivalent to one toke or one ingestion of a measured amount, it is the same effect and there's no side effects. That's the best part. Alcohol corrodes your liver in the prolonged use. This one doesn't do nothing. It is only improves your this thing. For that, I'm a living proof because I'll tell you exactly how I use it. But before that, I'll ask me another question.
Well, you brought up some memories on my part, some terminology that was used in my day. For example, a toke was one hit on the smoke. And then, of course, what you're smoking is a joint. Oh, yes. Now, when I went down to Jamaica back in the 1970s, which almost 45 years ago after I graduated from university, we had things called spliffs. Now, they were great big long things filled with locally grown marijuana. And of course, a famous phrase that was brought out in some of the movies, for example, Easy Rider, was, "Don't bogart that joint, my friend. Send it around again." And I can remember lots of parties where you would take a joint, take a toke, and pass it on to the next guy. Mario, I understand your experiences with this substance was a little different from the rest of us.
Yes, yes, it was. Actually, before I go into my experiences with it, let me ask you guys. Raise your hand if you have ever heard of the ancient Oracle of Olympia.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. Well, they're talking about the previous question that you asked about the history of it. There is speculation, and it can only be speculation, of course, that Pythia, which was the priestess that went inside the oracle to give the prophecies that the ancient Greeks needed, that governed a lot of their strategies, whether it was war, social, economic things, a lot of different aspects, even political elections were governed by how what came out of her mouth. But a lot of people say that what she was putting in her mouth was actually giving her the ability to give the prophecies. And they say that one of the possibilities was that it was marijuana that she was smoking that was giving her that ability. Because obviously, if you're high, your senses change, your ability to access, they say, different kind of realities kind of open up for you. So it was something that she was doing. Now, to answer your question, yes, I had a very different experience for you guys. I am a former athlete, so putting any kind of drugs in my system was a big no-no, and I was always being careful to be as pure as I could.
No beer, no wine, Mario, no nothing.
Well, no. I'm talking about that other. Yeah. Well, funny enough, when it came to booze, it was a different story because I grew up in Greece, and alcohol was not something that we looked on as a prohibition type of thing. Alcohol was something that you grew up in your family with, and you'll notice that a lot of people didn't abuse it because of the fact that it wasn't illegal. But let me just finish up by saying this. The experience that I've had with it is pretty much a Bill Clinton thing, that I put it in my mouth, but I didn't inhale because I could never inhale. So I don't know how to smoke a cigarette. So I would have choked, and I didn't like the taste. So I've never felt what you guys have felt. So
Mario, question. Would you try it now? Like, it's going to be available in stores near you. Would you try it now?
If I had a medical reason for it, yes. If I had a medical reason for it. If I was in pain, and I've gone through a period of my life where I was in a tremendous amount of pain.
Oh, gosh.
So, yeah, if it could help me medically, absolutely 100%. But recreationally, no. I don't see the value in any kind of drug-induced.
Yeah, I want to
a little booze sometimes. Okay, so my scotch helps.
You know what is the #1 drug in the world?
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah, you
Alcohol.
are doing the number
Alcohol.
one. What's the number two drug in the world?
Andrew, you have a comment?
Tobacco.
Everything in moderation, my friend. Everything in moderation.
Cannabis is number 14 on the list, number 14.
Ah,
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it is safe.
comment. Andrew,
Nobody's asked me for my input yet, so
I'm just asking you now.
okay, so I shall feel a little less offended. Okay.
You want a shot?
Well, now, my previous experience with cannabis back in the times where Mr. Brown, old Mr. Brown, is talking, was not great, not extensive. I never used it until I met my wife, and I was already well over 20. So, but you know, she was a user, and she was a heavy user. So yeah, so I learned about it at that time, but I never indulged heavily. Now, years ago, and then of course there were many years of hiatus because I was a husband and a father, and it was illegal here in Canada, so it just didn't happen. Now that it's legal, though, I have to say that I am cannabis positive. I think legal cannabis is a good thing for our society and for any society. And here's my reasons. Because the common alternative is alcohol. And alcohol is a poison. Alcohol, I take it myself, I drink. But it's ultimately, it's a terrible toxin, and so many millions upon millions of lives over history have been ruined by alcohol, much more so than cannabis. I mean, there's no comparison at all. And since it's been legalized, I've started to take it up again a little bit. I cannot smoke, like Mario, I cannot smoke because I just can't, I start coughing. I'm not a smoker, but I use the edibles and in a moderate amount. And for me, I think it offers a great alternative to alcohol, which is deadly. And I'm afraid actually of what alcohol might do to me, but I'm not afraid of what cannabis can do to me. And one last thought before I go, finish speaking here. I do take the occasional edible, but when I do, and if I do, then I can forget about doing any more work on that particular day because work just becomes much less interesting and much less important. So do not indulge if you've got work left to do during the day. That's my opinion.
Have a fridge nearby, right?
A question to everybody. Does anybody have a family member who is using this for medical purposes? I'm sure there must be a lot of members of the audience that do, but I'm just asking for you, my friends, if there's anybody, if you know anybody like that. Okay, I have some friends that do this, and it seems to be working. They swear by it. They believe that it's been very beneficial to them. It's improved their life. But again, the problem I'm wondering about is if you're smoking this stuff, how does that impact you during in this period of the pandemic where the virus actually attacks your lungs? So Rab, do you have any comments on this?
You see, the best way to have it is to eat it. Smoking is the worst kind of way. And for that, they strip everything out from the plant, and you can have the concentrate in oil, and that becomes your raw material. That's the canna we talk about in the Bible. Smoking is the best way. You get very high. It lasts for 2 hours. The edibles last about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how much you had it. And that is a body buzz. You feel, as you say, you can't do any work, but it's ideal for meditation. You have it and you go to meditate, you are flying, right? You are absolutely, because what is life? Life is trying to experience your presence on earth. And half the time, You have come here for no reason at all. All of us came here because we are supposed to procreate and perceive. So you're perceiving all your life and then you go. Because whether you come or go doesn't make a difference. But this one, you can see life, you can see the pleasant part of life for what you are. Your own reason for coming here is to perceive the earth and make the perception good for you. So, having said that, edibles is the way to go. Smoking, I don't like, right? And I've been doing this the last 20 years. Um, we had a greenhouse, and we used to give a piece. I used to make it with hashish, which is another form of cannabis, and jaggery. I used to give the workers there, about 20 workers in the greenhouse, and they would love it. Take one piece, and for 12 hours, they won't take a break, and they'll continue working. They didn't have a problem. And when I didn't give it to them, they say, "Where is the stuff? Where is my kana?" They ask. So
that reminds me of stories about when I went up into the Andes Mountains, and you talk about the native people chewing coca leaves and then being able to work at very high altitudes with lots of stamina, which leads me back to a story when I was growing up. You know, I was around the age when, in the 1960s, when this drug became popular. And in many respects at that time, it was sort of a psychological release, because it did cause people to think in a different way, as Sarab was talking about. It has a lot to do, though, with the counterculture and the fact that in that era, we were coming out of a society that was sort of living in a straitjacket. And there was a lot of unpopular things going on. There was the anti-war movement, and there were a lot of other things. Cold War was going, it was hot. And I think people needed a release. I don't think they need that today. A lot of in this regard, a lot of the cannabis use that's going to come in the future will probably be recreational rather than medicinal. What do you think of this, Mario? Would you use this product for recreational purposes?
Wow. Man, this looks groovy, man. Groovy, yeah.
We're talking about marijuana, not LSD.
Look at this. Okay, this is, no, guys.
That's LSD you're doing there, Mr. Ferry.
Oh, that's LSD that I'm doing. As far as, let me answer this. As far as recreational, I think I said that earlier. No, I would not use it recreationally. First of all, as Andrew said, I can't inhale. So I don't like the feeling of that. And I tried a cigarette once in my life when I was 14 years old. I think I snuck a cigarette out of my father's pack, and I went down on the staircase, and I tried to smoke it, and I turned green, and he started laughing at me afterwards when he saw me because I thought I was dying. So that part of it alone prevented me from ever considering it. Edibles, no, it's not something that drives me, to be honest with you. I can tell you this, and I said this earlier too. If you do everything in moderation, okay, and you don't allow yourself to go beyond a point that you are out of control, and you're in a safe environment, you can do whatever you please. I have no issues with it at all. But would I do it? No, I don't see it unless, again, it's for medicinal reasons only. Now, do I use chemicals? Yeah, I mean, I'm drinking a coffee with you guys right now. So yeah, that's a stimulant, right? And it is a chemical, it's a drug. But again, I only have 1 cup a day, and as far as alcohol is concerned, I may have a drink once every month or something like that. So it's not something that would be part of my life at any time, and especially cannabis. So I'm one of those squares, guys, as they used to call them, squares. It's like,
that's okay. Sarab, what about you? Recreational use?
Sarab, you're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
Recreational and medicinal both. Let me give you a little history of how in India, nearly 50% of all the medicines have marijuana in them as a medical component. Now, we should know that CBD is the one which is the beneficial part, and THC is the one which makes you crazy. So you have strains which have more CBD and less THC. That is beneficial to you. As I told you, that stops seizures, it stops the pain, and even it's anti-cancerous, they say. And all this was known long time ago because of its anti-inflammatory things. So there's also a history in the Sikh lore that Guru Gobind Singh was seeing this elephant who was killing all the people, but they had to attack that. So he got in a couple of people, like 10 people, and gave them cannabis to drink. And they got so much courage, and they go and kill this thing. So it does give you courage. It makes you not stupid, but it makes you want to die for country and God and all those things.
We can argue.
I don't know about that.
Let me ask Sarab this question, because you mentioned something earlier, Sarab, that really intrigued me, and this is about meditation. That when you take cannabis, you meditate. How about controlled meditation? When you're doing purposeful meditation for a spiritual reason, as opposed to just relaxation, how can you control your meditation when you are flying high?
Okay. The way I want to answer you is, like, our whole body, everybody's body has CB receptors, cannabidiol receptors in your brain and along your spine. And if you didn't know it, our body produces a chemical called anandamide. It's an endocannabinoid which is produced by the body, whether you take it or not. So when you're meditating, or when you have these dopamine and oxytocin coming out, this is all part of that. You feel, when you're meditating, you can feel that you're in bliss. But now when you add a little more of this cannabidiol in a way, it enhances the experience. So when I say, when you, and all the yogis in the Himalayas, they all smoke a chill. You know, they have a thing, they smoke it, and then they go into deep meditation. They are part of the universe. They just merge. And that's the time when you're spending, you're absolutely in bliss. Your body, your tension, there's no tension, and everything is fine. So having this cannabis they're here to stay, and if they're discovering it, that when you have it for seizures, for even, there's another story. This guy in India, he was a young kid, about 10 years old, and he was hungry. So he goes to the kitchen, and he looks up, climbs up, and opens the door, and he finds a steel tin. He opens it, there's another steel tin there. He opens it, another steel tin. And there were 4 or 5 pieces of some, like a candy. So he was hungry, so he ate them. And he didn't know that they were laced with cannabis. And he talked about 60 years ago. And that was the medicine which the local doctor had given his uncle to eat because he wasn't feeling hungry. This was to increase his appetite. But this guy had about 4 pieces, and he had to take him to the hospital. They had to do a stomach wash and everything. So there he gives us experience. But if you have it in moderation, it has a benefit. But you have to find that moderate level for your own self. This is why my research nowadays has been mainly on deep sleep, right? I am perfecting this liquid which I produce from cannabis, where I take out the stuff chemically and put it in oil, and I have a little measured amount. My deep sleep has increased from 2 hours a night to 4 hours a night. I have a 50%, 100% increase in my deep sleep. And guys, I must tell you that if your deep sleep is high, if your deep sleep is good, that is attached to your lifespan. Because when in deep sleep is the time you regenerate yourself. Your body starts repairing itself, healing itself. So that is the time. Like today, I had 4 hours of deep sleep. I only slept for 6. I had a 60% increase, and I didn't even take it. because I actually say that because I meditate before I sleep. But when I do have it, this one is excellent for deep sleep. And if people take it for whatever reason, if their sleeps get better, they will generally become more healthier. Because in the end, that's what matters: is your cells regenerating or not, helpfully.
Andrew, how do you find the sleep?
But well, I have this.
No, no, I was asking Andrew. Andrew.
Well, I'm not going to pretend any expertise on that particular issue, although I'm very intrigued to hear about Sarab's scientific research here. And God bless you there, Sarab. May you be able to market this compound. I mean, it sounds like it's helpful. You know what? I just, oh my goodness. Well, there's the proof. There's the proof right on the telephone. Well, I cannot say that I've done that, and I haven't used it to sharpen my meditation at all, which is still something that I have not been able to establish regular practice in. But that certainly is something that would be worthwhile for me to investigate. And Sarab, you are the person to help me with that.
No, I will make a batch for you, specific for you, knowing you. And I want you to take 0.5 milliliter before sleeping, around 6 o'clock, not before sleeping. 6 o'clock, but it takes 2 hours for it to take effect. And by the time you go to sleep, you wake up refreshed completely. And don't during working hours, during sleeping time. Because in the working hours, okay, you'll be useless again. Sleeping time, you don't even know. We wake up totally refreshed.
Andrew, the first batch is free, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. But the point is, well, it's just interesting. Isn't it interesting? Absolutely. And why not give it a try, for heaven's sake?
You know, in a way, I'm kind of sorry that this drug has been made legal because it takes away a lot of the sort of the history of it. It's like a passing of the of an age where this stuff was illegal, and therefore there was a thrill in taking it. We're going into a new world now, I suppose, where all of this stuff is widely available. There are business opportunities all over the place. People trying to start stores where they can sell this stuff. It's probably going to cut into alcohol sales quite deliberately, quite dramatically, which is okay, I suppose, if it does. There's a lot of concerns about whether it's going to be cause problems with traffic on that. I don't think it's going to be that way, but it certainly seems to be the wave of the future. And I believe that we all should be watching what's going on down the road for that reason. Maybe we will be all using this substance in the future for pain relief, particularly people at our age, where I have, as they say, pains in the places where I used to play. So folks, we've had an interesting discussion on this, and I'd like to close this by just telling everybody, don't bogart that joint, friends. Pass it around again. Have a nice day.
Yeah, before we go, I just want to say something. You know the anointing oil which they put it for the kings and all that? There is a heavy dose of cannabis in there. They didn't know that. They put it here.
Is that for the pain?
I don't know what, to become a king. So guys,
as the kings will do.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Outro.
Okay.
Till next time, thank you for listening to Voices of Experience. Wait for our next episode. Thank you.